Hey, what's up everybody? This is Nightwing2303 from kicksoncourt.com. Today we have another performance review and it is on the Nike Zoom Hyperdisruptor. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Full-length herringbone was used from top to bottom, or heel to toe I should say, and I absolutely had no complaints whatsoever. After a brief break-in period, and by brief I mean very, very brief, maybe like 2 hours, the entire traction was perfectly fine, and the only areas that I experienced any slippage was before the break-in period, and that was right here in the back of the heel and right around here at the forefoot. Basically where the lines begin, or not the, or it is lines, but basically where the herringbone starts off like flat instead of peaked. These areas right here are peaked, and this area is flat, so like it starts off a little bit slippery at first, but again, just give it a little bit of time for some break-in and you'll be perfectly fine. Especially all of these little flex grooves, all of these things when your foot is bending really grip and stick to the floor. So you have pretty much maximum coverage, which I was actually not expecting. Usually you get a little bit of slippage with the flat sections here, and I didn't experience that whatsoever after that little break-in period. So the traction, personally, I just thought it was perfect. It didn't matter what court I was on, it worked beautifully. So the cushion, honestly, I'm pretty disappointed in it. You know, I couldn't feel it. Like the Zoom bags, you have one in the forefoot and one in the heel. You can literally see them. There are windows here, one right there, and there's one right over here, right there. They're 10 millimeter Zoom bags, which means they're very large volume. It's their largest or thickest Zoom unit that is not the 360 unit. And basically that means that from the bottom of the shoe here up to right where your foot rests, that is full-on Zoom, and it is housed within this Phylon carrier, which is a very lightweight Phylon. Same thing goes with the forefoot. The only difference is, instead of it being a maximum coverage unit, it's just a thin bar, just like the KD5s. Now the KD5s ended up breaking in very, very nicely. These things, I just can't get them to break in. I don't know if it's just my pair, I don't know if it's just me, I don't really get it, but for whatever reason I do not have any responsiveness whatsoever. I don't have any cushion in terms of a bouncy, responsive type of feel that you would typically get from Zoom. I've used Zoom since I was about 14 years old. It's one of my favorite cushioning systems, and this is the worst interpretation of Zoom that I've ever experienced. Now, does that mean that it is not there? No, it does not. It is obviously there. It is doing its job. I don't know why I can't feel it, but I just can't. So I am still going to rate it decently, but I'm not going to rate it as high as I typically would, just based off of the fact that I cannot feel it. It is doing its job, I could tell you that, because my legs and my knees don't hurt whatsoever. So I know that it's absorbing impact. I just don't feel any of the spring back or responsiveness that you typically receive from Zoom Air. The materials, I think, are great. It's a really, really lightweight and thin fuse. And I'm talking light. Like, this shoe is like featherweight light. It's crazy. Like, this is kind of like that Kobe 8 type of light. Actually, those might be a little bit lighter, but still. This is just a really, really light shoe, especially if you're going from one shoe to these guys here. It feels like you got nothing on your feet. The material is very, very pliable. There's no hot spots whatsoever. No break-in period was necessary with the upper on these guys here, and I personally really, really like the fit and the way that the materials conform to my foot. So the materials, I think, were perfectly fine. There was just enough ventilation and mesh with just enough protection and fuse to make it a very well-rounded upper. The overall fit is true to size, however they do run a little bit on the narrow side. I personally really loved the fit. I mean, they were super, super snug for me, and they contain my foot perfectly. If you're a wide footer, you might want to go up half a size. Best thing to do, of course, is to always try these on. These are widely available at most Nike basketball retailers, so there shouldn't be too much of an excuse unless you really don't live near a store, in which that case I would invest in one solid trip just to go try them on, just because you don't want to get that sizing wrong by purchasing online, and then you have to go through a whole nother hassle sending them back and getting your size and all that stuff. It's literally better to just find a store and drive to it, even if it is a little bit on the far side. As far as overall lockdown is concerned, like I was saying, it runs on the narrow side, and the materials really wrap and conform around your foot, so you have absolutely no containment issues whatsoever. From the forefoot all the way up to the collar, you have a perfect fit and lockdown. There is no slipping, sliding, or anything like that inside of the shoe. And then the plastic heel clip in the back does offer some containment right here, so that your heel isn't moving as well. This whole shoe, the fit and everything, kind of reminded me of like the base layer of a KD. KD5 I should say more specifically, and then a high top upper of like a Kobe 8. Those two shoes mixed together kind of makes up this guy right here, overall in my personal opinion. So the ventilation is pretty much all over the place. You have a little bit here, you have a lot on the side panels, and then you have that really thin mesh tongue. So when you're wearing the shoe, you don't notice it, but it is there. However, if you're going from a shoe that is that lacks a lot of ventilation, and then you put this guy on, it's literally very, very apparent. Like, it feels like you have air conditioning on your feet. I went from playing in, I don't remember what it was, I think it was like the CP3.6 AE, and then I went into this guy right here. I was reviewing both shoes that night, or not reviewing, but testing, and yeah, when I put these guys on, like, you could just feel the air flowing inside of that shoe and your heat escaping, and it was really interesting. I know that a lot of people, discredit the ventilation section and things like that, but some people literally do like it, or prefer it or need it, so that's why it is on the scorecard. The overall support is pretty decent. The upper itself is pretty much your main section of support, that lockdown, that fit, and that containment. That's basically your support. As far as arch support goes, those of you that use orthotics, you're still going to probably need to use an orthotic. Yes, the insole is removable, as they are in most sneakers. As far as an actual built-in shank, there is a small little bar right here. It's a little TPU bar. Those are in most of Nike's team models, and it's supposed to add some rigidity right there so that you don't overextend or overflex your arch. Does it work? Not really. It doesn't do much whatsoever, but it is in there, so it is what it is. But I still don't think that it's like worth it, as far as like if you need that. For me personally, it didn't bother me whatsoever, but some people actually do complain about that, and I think it's called plantar fasciitis or something like that. So those type of people need like an actual shank and support cage right there at the midfoot. And yeah, I personally don't, but it is what it is, and that's pretty much what the support is in this shoe. Most of it is coming from the upper and the heel area from that lockdown and fit.